Hey, how's everybody doing on this beautiful day? Welcome back to my vlog, Confessions of a King's Daughter. I am your host, Mina Stairs, and the founder of King's Daughters Ministry. So I'm just going to jump right into it because I don't know why my camera's being foolish and it won't actually allow me to record as much as I would like to, so I'm limited for time. But before I do get started, I wanted to say, this was a rough one, trying to get to this point of actually doing my vlog today, because I was going back and forth of whether or not if I should do it. Then I was having trouble. I had to do so many different recordings and none of them were actually working. They weren't long enough, so I had to keep deleting them. So I'm like, all of this back and forth, blah, blah, blah. God, you really want me to do this, and the devil really doesn't want me to. So therefore, here we are. But what I wanted to actually talk about today is faith over fear. I've been hearing a lot about faith a lot lately because that's what my pastor preaches on. Sundays, Bible study, and there was even a moment in time where I even kind of asked, why are you speaking so much about faith? Every single week in Bible study, any opportunity that he gets to speak on faith, he does. And his words were, I want to keep speaking on it until people actually get it. And I was like, you know what? And it makes sense. And at the end of the day, you could probably be speaking about it forever, because at the end of the day, I find there is such a divide when it comes to people's faith and fear. And that is where God has been basically speaking to me all week. And I have been, going back and forth, reading different things, making notes and stuff like that, and writing them down in my book. And it's almost like, okay, he speaks to me about this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to write this down. So then I write that down, and then it's like you wake up in the morning and you have a word, or it could just be a phrase or a sentence. Write that down. Or if you're like me, a lot of the times I use my phone to put stuff in the notes part of my cell phone. And then when it comes time, like today, I'm like, okay, God, you really want me to do this? Help me put this together, because I really do not know what to say. Bam, it all just came together. So just to let you know, I fought really hard to do this week. But as I was thinking about faith and fear, I thought, the same reason we have faith is the same reason we have fear. Faith comes by hearing and fear comes by hearing. And sometimes fear comes by seeing. But what is it that we are actually hearing? Who is it that we're actually listening to? Is it man or is it God? That's a question that I had to basically ask myself a lot of the time. And I think when I did my first vlog episode last week, I was saying that every single week it could be either a confession, it could be someone coming on sharing about a certain topic. And for me this week, I would say it's a confession. It's a confession of my faith and how I've come to grow my faith, and why and how I am where I am right now in my faith. So for me, my faith did begin to grow the moment I started to dig into the Word. Once you do that, you know the difference between faith and fear talk. You know when fear is speaking, and you know when faith is speaking. No matter how much we try and deny it, we know deep down in our hearts when we are speaking faith and when we are speaking fear. And I noticed that once I actually started really saying, you know, God, I want to grow my faith. I want to be that person where no matter what is going on in my life, I want to have faith over fear, because fear has controlled so much of my life. I'm tired of it. And I notice when you make a conscious effort to really focus on something, you are aware of how you're just aware of other people. You're aware of everything that you read, everything that you see. Oh, that's not faith. Oh, that person sounds like they're speaking they're full of fear. You are conscious, you are aware of everyone around you, and even what comes out of your mouth. You're aware, you're alert to it, you're woke, as they would say. And that's what I found was the first difference, the first thing that I noticed with myself when I started digging into the word and reading more about faith and hearing more about faith from my pastor. I was more aware of the words that were coming out of my mouth, and I could catch myself, and I could pull that back and say, you know what? Not today, Satan. Not today. But I always, this is one thing that actually really stood out to me. I was sleeping or whatever and woke up, and there was a phrase on my mind: we have to meet our fears with faith. And when I thought about that, I'm like, holy, that is so powerful. God, that is really, really powerful. We have to meet our fears with faith. And then the funny thing was, as I was studying, meditating on the word, and then I also was doing some research, I came across this very same quote written by, I didn't write the person's name down, sorry. But I'm like, it's just, it freaked me out a little bit, because I'm like, God speaks to us. He speaks to us through other people. Like, it's just crazy, and it's amazing at the same time. But we have to meet our fears with faith. Come face to face with our fears, but with faith. 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith and not by sight. Fear goes by sight. Faith doesn't. And that's what we really have to realize. Fear is what you see, like this pandemic and everything that's going on. Everyone is fearful because of what they're hearing and what they're seeing. In Psalm 46:10, it says, be still and know that I am God. The scripture speaks to my faith. I don't know about you, but when I truly trust, I let go. I'm peaceful. I'm still. But God knows that I can be a control freak. But in order for my faith to grow, I had to surrender even that. I had to surrender that side of myself to him, because if I was going to actually have a right relationship with God, with my Father, I had to surrender everything to him so that I could fully enjoy the benefits of being in relationship with him. And that means, giving him all of the broken pieces of yourself and giving him the access to every part of yourself. So I had to give him the access to minus the broken sides, the ugly sides. It didn't matter. He knew them all anyways. It's just sometimes us, we don't want to surrender those things. We always want to hold something back. We want to get rid of the ashes. We want to have the beauty, but we're still not really surrendering everything to him. When I actually surrendered, I began to trust. And when I trusted in him, my fear became small. And my faith became big, just like the God that I serve. Does your faith match your God? That is the question I had to ask myself. And I'm like, ouch, that, you ask yourself things and you have to be honest. You have to be honest and say, I don't know. And for me, I knew it didn't, because if it did, there were just lots of ways I would not think, lots of things I would not say, or whatever. And I always thought to myself, you know, God, what is blocking my blessings, my peace, my joy? For me, it was my lack of faith in God. It truly, truly was. I do have my notes here if you see me, because I had to make notes or else I just go off topic. But have you ever asked yourself that question, though? Like, what is blocking my blessings? What is blocking my joy, my peace? What is blocking my calmness, my happiness? When I'm living this Christian life and I love Jesus, but it's because you haven't fully surrendered and your faith is lacking. I never realized how important it was, how important faith is to my walk with God and my relationship with God. It is everything. It is a necessity. It is essential to have faith and to trust. My faith was misplaced. I thought that my faith was in God until I looked in the mirror, being God's word, and realized a lot of the time my faith was in myself, or it was in other people. And no wonder I always ended up being disappointed. And I started digging into more of, what does faith mean to me? It's a question, like, as I'm going through these last little bits, it's a question that I would even say, ask yourself and write it down. If this is an area in your walk with God that you struggle in, is your lack of faith and letting fear control you, that's where I would spend more time. And for me, faith is the basic ingredient to begin a relationship with God. Faith is taking God at his word. It's assurance that the things revealed and the promises in the word are true. Faith lifts my spirit into the expectation of hope and joy. And there are things that will come along and try and hinder your faith. We all know that at the end of the day. And that's why the word has to be present in our lives every single day. Some hindrance of faith that I would say I encountered in my life would be absence of the word. Reference to Matthew 13:19. As fast as the word is planted, the enemy comes to steal it. And it is the truth. When I would not read as much, or I'd say, I don't have time, blah, 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 blah. More and more and more and more over time, the devil is coming and he's stealing that word, or you're forgetting that word because it's not present in your life every day. So one of the hindrance for me was absence of the word. Wrong motivations instead of desire. First and foremost, God's kingdom and God's righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Matthew 6:33. So wrong motivations sometimes for your faith can actually be a real hindrance. Obedience. When you are not lacking in faith, you are obedient to what God is saying to you. How can you not be when you are faithful? You have faith in him. So no matter what it is that he asks you to do, sometimes we may not always want to do it. Be like, like I said, God has been stretching me a lot in the past 2 years. And one thing that I learned is that you have to be obedient. You have to be obedient to the word. And if you say that you trust him and that you have faith in him, obedience will follow. So let me just see here. I lost my place. Sorry. And okay, so now I'm on this last page here. And another, I don't even really know what I would call it, but I would probably say the results of my spiritual faith, where I saw growth. It was in my obedience. That's how I knew that my faith was growing. My joy, knowing God is for you, knowing that God was for me and that he would never let me down. That was a result of my spiritual faith. And then number 3 would be confession of your faith. With the heart one believes, with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Your confession puts a seal. Your confession puts a seal on what you believe. How do you protect your faith? That was like another thing for me, was protecting it. Your faith and relationship with God. When you have a relationship that is going well and it's strong, you want to protect that, do you not? You don't want to let anyone else try and come in there and plant doubt or make you not trust the person that you are in relationship with. I believe that when it comes to our relationship with God, we also need to protect that as well. That means by the people that you are around that are always negative, lack in their faith, they're always fearful. Well, sometimes that rubs off on you, that doubt and that whatever, and you start to actually question God. So protect your relationship with your Father the same way you would your relationship with an earthly, someone on this earth, whether it's your spouse, your children, your mother, your father. Those are relationships that are meaningful to you that you actually want to protect. So at the end of the day, as being a daughter of the King, I should actually want to protect my relationship with my Father. When there's times where you feel like you're doubting, God, you're questioning what's going on in your life or whatever. Read Mark 11:24. When you pray, believe, you receive. Believe God, you receive. Believe God's answers your prayer when you pray, and lean not on your own understanding. And for me, that has been a scripture that I have actually read a lot. And really, when you think about it, I'm not saying that it's easy, because it's not. And really, you shouldn't say that. But some things are simple. We complicate them. It's not God that's complicating anything. Most of the time it's us. We are complicating our relationship with God, as we say, oh, it's complicated when someone asks you what your relationship status is. Well, in this case, it being complicated has nothing to do with him and everything to do with you. So that was my realization. It was a harsh realization, but it was one that I faced, and I was open. And I realized that the main starting point, or the main step in the right direction, was actually starting to read more of the Word. Because the more I read the Word, the more I started digging into the Word, the more I started to find out who I was, who he was. And yes, it's true. You can be going to church for X amount of years and still not even know what God says about you, or still not even know what the Word says. But trust me, once you start digging into the Word, hearing the Word, putting yourself around people who believe the Word, they're hearing the Word, they're digging into the Word, they want to grow their faith, it will make all of the difference in your life, and it will make all of the difference in your relationship with him. So with that being said, I am going to leave you guys now, and I hope that a lot of what I was saying actually made sense. Sometimes you're just trying to get the word out there, but the one thing I always want to make sure is that it is actually planting seed in somebody else, that it's helping somebody else, that whatever it is that I'm talking about is it's making people also feel like they're not alone. And we also know that in our Christian walk that none of us are actually perfect at all. And we all have things daily that we actually struggle with. But the best part of it all is that we are in relationship with someone who always extends grace and mercy to us. And that is why I am so thankful that I serve an amazing God. So until next time, I pray peace, joy, healing, comfort, protection on all of the King's daughters, and enjoy the rest of your evening with your family. Thank you.